All right, well, welcome everybody to our presence practice community. Like Richard said, we're getting into a bit of a routine here. It's just more and more fun each time we see y'all. As a reminder, our purpose is to establish the practice of presence as a reliable, calming resource that increases our possibilities and gives us more choices for making authentic contributions. And also as a reminder, our theme this week has been this notion of managing our mood, or really relating with how we're feeling in our mood so we can establish equanimity. We've been doing practices with sitting, settling, something called the breath of fire, which was really fun, and this notion of coming home. And today we're going to continue to build the muscle of noticing ourselves to increase our choices.
Yeah, we've been talking about how do we create the space to shift from a reactive, perhaps habitual, conditioned tendencies, ways to respond. And we're referring to this practice of presence as a way of catching ourselves and noticing if our thoughts are taking us into the future in a way that perhaps creates anxiety, or we might be thinking about the past in a way that is causing us feelings of perhaps resentment or regret. And we've talked about being in the present moment is the moment in which we can recover ourselves and perhaps even redeem ourselves to take the next action.
I love that, Richard. Just the way you said it. Just noticing if my thoughts are in the future, or just noticing if they're in the past. That act of noticing is making myself more present.
Yeah, Roger, I think the wonderful capacity of presence practice, and certainly it's become quite popular now to talk about mindfulness, is really to develop our capacity to focus our attention. I think that's one of the practices that helps us with presence. So do the thoughts have me, or can I pause and have a conscious thought? And we know there's a relationship of how we think and how we feel. And of course, how we hold ourselves physically affects how we see and perceive the world. So today we're going to explore working with what is it to be in our base camp, to be present, both physically, emotionally, and cognitively. And then we're going to practice what happens when we get thrown off by a thought that takes us in a spiral that's not helpful or valuable relative to our purpose. And then how do we come back? I'm a perfect example today. I was just telling Roger before we started that I woke up this morning with some kind of discomfort and dread and an old pattern coming up. And it has some version of I'm not good enough, not able to do enough, and an impending sense of overwhelm. And then I coupled that with, well, I teach this, I shouldn't have that. And then I remembered, well, that's an old way of thinking. It's not the art of perfection, it's the art of correction. And how can we, when we notice ourselves stepping off center, be kind with ourselves and touch ourselves lightly and softly with a kindness? So that's what we're going to practice right now. And I just want to remind us of the quote from Viktor Frankl: between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. So it's our power to choose our response. So Roger's going to be seated and I will be standing and take us through a series of presencing practices and recovery. So either if you're comfortable in your seat, please stay in the seat. And if you would like to stand and have the experience of standing, please feel free to do that. And I think we have a slight time lag here, but we'll make it work. So the idea is that we want to come back to our base camp, which is having our feet solidly on the ground, and you'll adjust if you're seated, which will have your butt on the chair and noticing where your feet are on the floor. My shoulders are rolled back and down. My spine is straight. So there's two forces. There's gravity, that's where I'm feeling secure and grounded. And at the same time, I have an extension in my spine, the spine representing the dignity of the vertical line. And my hands are just hanging to the side, relaxed and slightly turned out. It allows the chest to open up, which makes our breathing easier. Now unlocking in your knees, your chin parallel to the ground. Place your thumb of your hand on your belly button and the palm of your hand on your belly. You're using this to notice where you are in terms of your center of gravity. And just for now, allowing yourself to become aware of your breathing. And once you feel like you are connecting to your natural rhythm, let your hand drop down to the side. Chest is lifted up. Weight is going into my feet. And I'm settling. Base camp, coming home. But right now, there's nothing to do except be bringing your attention and awareness to your breathing. Unlock your knees. And notice where you are holding any tension that is not necessary. When I'm holding tension, it really betrays my faith. It means I'm trying to hold things up when in fact I can just relax. Let go. Now, what I'd like you to do is think of something in this moment that causes you stress or anxiety. And I'd like you to actually think those thoughts. What is the thought that I have to have that has me feel anxious or stressed or overwhelmed? And then notice what that's creating for us or for you. And then just for the exercise, allow yourself to magnify that physical experience. So mine was overwhelm, and I tend to want to collapse in overwhelm. And there's a particular story that I have that says, I don't have enough time. I can't manage, I can't cope. And then just let your body take that on and feel what that feels like. And now, taking a breath, lifting the spine up, shoulders are rolled back and down, feeling gravity, feeling your breath. Bring your attention to your breathing. Now you're letting go of the story. You're just being aware of the breathing and noticing sensations. And I'm reminded of a statement that's really helpful for me. I am already that for which I have been seeking. And what if today I lived out of that place? I am already that for which I have been seeking. Allow yourself to say some version of that and take on the posture of that acceptance and a feeling of belonging and settling. And then just for yourself, as if you were taking a snapshot, notice how you're feeling emotionally, physically, and what's the state of your thinking in your mind. Now feel the next couple of breaths as if these were acts of kindness to yourself, the breathing in and breathing out. And then if you would like to take a seat, if you were standing, just take a moment to share with us perhaps a few words that would best describe what you're noticing. Because the presence is really the practice of bringing attention and awareness and being purposeful with that. So if you'd be willing to put in the chat, and while you're doing that, Roger, thoughts or comments from your own experience? Or
Yeah, thanks. First of all, grateful that you led me through it. So I feel lighter right now than I did when you had me go to my place of stress or worry. It was immediate that I felt a weight on my shoulders, and exaggerating it, felt like I could just collapse on my desk if I chose to. But just that awareness, to be with it and just hold that for a little while, got me a little more comfortable with it. So thank
nice.
you. Yeah.
Well, I'll just say for myself live that doing the practice will change our state and disposition. And it doesn't have to take a long time.
That's nice.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess the message I would say to all of us in these times, you can't go wrong with being kind with yourself. And I love the idea of the breath being a natural massage and act of kindness. So that's just my takeaway.
Richard, you shared a poem earlier today with me. Do you mind if I read it as we close?
I think that would be a great way to close it. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, yeah, you said it and I said, oh, I want to read this. So it's a Mary Oliver poem. It's called Today. Today I am flying low and I'm not saying a word. I'm letting all the voodoos of ambition sleep. The world goes on as it must. The bees in the gardens rumbling a little, the fish leaping, the gnats getting eaten, and so forth. But I'm taking the day off, quiet as a feather. I hardly move, though really I'm traveling a terrific distance. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple. Stillness, one of the doors into the temple.
Thanks, Roger. Beautifully read. And that's Mary Oliver. So you guys have a beautiful Friday. Take good care of yourselves, people you care about, your loved ones. And thanks again for giving us the opportunity to do these with you.
Thanks, everybody.